Aloha friends, and welcome to my channel Tasty Healthy. Today we are making a thick hearty broccoli soup. You can use broccoli, broccolini, which is what I have right here. It's also called baby broccoli or broccoli rabe. They're all related, and if you don't want it really fibrous-y, you want to cut off the stalks, the stems. This one was okay. I did leave the stems on, but it was okay. It's pretty fibrous-y, but fiber helps to keep things moving, so it's good. So you want to go ahead and steam 1 medium rutabaga and 2 to 3 cups of broccoli. And then you're going to want to rough chop 1/2 white onion. And you can also use yellow or sweet, whatever you have on hand, but I think white gives it a nice flavor. Go ahead and rough chop that. Today I have Key West is Best on my fingernails, my Color Street color. If you haven't ever tried Color Street nail strips, they're amazing. You don't have to mess with that stinky nail polish, and stays pretty nice. And before we put the onion in, we're going to put 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. Coconut oil is, it retains its characteristics at high heat, so it is, as far as I know, the number one oil to cook with, because the properties don't change because of the heat. So 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, 1/2 onion rough chop, bring the rice cooker over, go ahead and move that coconut oil around a little bit, throw in the onions. Usually takes a minute or 2 for the onions to soften and come apart. Go ahead and put all those onions in. Kind of break them up if you can, but if not, you can come back when they heat up a little bit. And then we are going to use 2 cloves of garlic. I always use at least 1 more clove because I'm part Italian and I love garlic. But 2 cloves of garlic. If you're a garlic lover, you can add more. And it's usually better to chop the garlic and leave it sitting for about 10 minutes before you cook it, or before you put it in a dish. It retains its healing properties. I'm going to set that aside for a minute. And then we're going to bring out the celery, and we are going to rough chop 3 whole stalks of celery. It's a lot of celery, but celery is amazing. It has the perfect electrolyte balance, and it adds a very nice thickness to the soup. Also adds a little bit of water, so you're not adding as much water. Go ahead and set this aside while our onions are sauteing. And if you haven't heard me say it already, fresh is best. That is my motto for this channel, my main motto. So what does that mean? That means we try to eat food the first day that we buy it from the grocery store. And if we don't eat it on the first day, we freeze it. We can eat it on the first day and have a leftover the second day. but try not to have, try not to eat it past the 4th day for sure. Ideally, you want to eat it on the 1st or 2nd day and then freeze it. And then freezing it retains the nutrition. So it's pretty amazing. Someday I want to have one of those big ice chests in the garage and just stock it chock full of all of my favorite foods. I really have developed a preference for freezing food that I don't eat, so just keeps it fresh. Of course, having it fresh before freezing it is the best, but usually you're not going to eat everything the first day, so freezing it retains the nutrition and helps it to keep from further spoiling. Because as the days, minutes, days, and hours go by, the food naturally will have more bacteria in it. But when you freeze it, it basically freezes everything and there's no more bacteria until you heat it up again. But not as many. So fresh is best. Always want to have the freshest ingredients. And if anything is brown, it's oxidized, which means it's aged and it's not as good for the body. So I always cut off all the brown spots. When I was younger, I didn't pay too much attention, but those kinds of things are going to oxidize the body, age the body. So you are what you eat, and if you eat those brown things, it will definitely oxidize and age the body. Okay, so now I'm adding the garlic, 3 cloves of garlic. Usually add it on top of the onions and just let it sit and kind of steam on top of the onions. Garlic is a little bit more fragile than onions, so it cooks faster. And I usually like to just set it on top of the onions until the onions have become more translucent. And the garlic only needs to be cooked for like a minute or 2, and then beyond that is too much. So now I'm going to bring out watercress. You can also use other kinds of leafy greens, maybe like some kind of like sprouts, pea sprouts would be fine. Any kind of those macronutrient sprouts that you see in the smaller dishes at the health food store, those are really good. Anything with a little bit more water I think is good, and watercress is super good for you, and super anti-inflammatory, super antihistamine, so you're not going to get the inflammation and the allergic reactions in the body. So I'm going to use 2 to 3 cups of leafy greens. You could also use like beet greens, chard, yeah, any of those leafy greens will be fine, but you want to kind of pick something with more of a neutral flavor to it. Okay, so we're sauteing our onions. Now we're getting the garlic in there. Let it cook for a minute here. And then we're going to put the celery on top. 3 stalks of celery. And then going to broccoli. And then we're going to add 2 cups of veggie broth. And also remember to add your rutabaga. Okay, 1 more cup of veggie broth. So that's 2 cups of veggie broth total. And then I usually put as much as I can put in, and then I'll come back when it reduces. After it's cooked for a while, it'll reduce down. So that's what I did here. I added the broccolini, and then added a little bit more veggie broth. You can kind of gauge. You want it to be kind of near the top of the veggies. And then adding in 2 to 3 cups of greens, which here I'm using watercress. Just put that on top. It's pretty chock full. It's a pretty large soup. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close down the top of the rice cooker here. And then just come back after you have, I usually put it on the white rice setting and then cooks for about 20 minutes. And then I also added the rutabaga. It's one medium rutabaga. And rutabaga, I actually like rutabaga best if I just lightly steam it. But sometimes it gets steamed all the way. Can't be helped, but I think it retains more of its texture if it's just lightly steamed. Okay, so now we are blending with our immersion blender. If you don't have one, you can order it down in the notes below. There's links to shop the recipe. And this is the last video where I will be using the immersion blender in the pot because I discovered that it keeps scratching my pot. So I actually have to order a new one. But from now on, I'm going to use the glass bowl. Just transfer it all to the glass bowl. I think the soups, it's easier to leave it in there because it's hot. But it just likes to scratch the bottom, so it kind of has like it kind of suctions down to the bottom. So I decided from now on I'm going to pour it into a bowl and then blend in the bowl. A lot less likely to scratch a glass bowl. Okay, so now we are adding 1 cup of coconut milk. You could also add almond. I think hazelnut is okay as well. Not as good as coconut or almond, but you could also do hazelnut. And most of the time I use coconut cream. But it just depends if you're trying to lose weight or if you want to maintain the same weight. you don't want to have as much fat. So you can always use the coconut milk. And then I'm adding in 3 tablespoons of hemp seeds. I'm going to give it a little more of a nutty flavor. You could also use hemp seed milk. It's always another one you can use. Or oat milk. That's another one you can use. And it's best if you make your own, because fresh is best. So, I'm going to add in a little bit of salt and pepper, usually a pinch of each, and then I'll add more when I'm eating. So go ahead and blend the hemp seeds and the coconut milk, the salt and pepper all together. It's a really nice, thicker, creamier texture. The soup. So probably the thickest soup that I have done so far on this channel. So it's super good for fall and winter. Very filling and tasty too. Okay, maybe give it a little more blend. I like to make it super smooth. And then we're going to go ahead and serve it up. And if you've been enjoying my videos so far, go ahead and hit the like button. And make sure to hit the subscribe button. And the notifications bell if you would like to know when my next video comes out. Hit that notification bell and it will send you a notification the next time I post a video. And then that makes it easy. Then you could go buy your ingredients that day for that day or the next day. And stay up to speed. Okay, just grabbing a bowl and a ladle. Go ahead and serve up some broccoli soup. The weather's going to start to get a little bit cooler, and it's always nice to have hot soup. You can put them in the Ziploc freezer bags and freeze them up. Super easy. You always want to lay it on a flat shelf. And there you have it, broccoli soup. Mahalo, thank you so much for joining us today, and aloha friends.